Mental health has been a topic of concern, but people have not been very aware of it. So they have not addressed the issue in the manner it should have been. Addressing your problems, accepting your problems. Because if there is an issue, first step to relieve it is to accept it. So first you accept it and then analyze it, whether you can solve it on your own, whether you can take help from the family, whether you can take help from your friends, and if not, if it is an issue which is really bothering you, then seek professional help.
Biopatrika, your very own online science communication, brings science closer to you in many ways. Today, SciConnect by Biopatrika welcomes all science enthusiasts to our Mental Health Awareness and Acknowledgement podcast. I, Pragya Gupta, and my co-host Charu Gupta are proud to welcome a special lady who is certain to validate our emotional concerns as a person in science and be the agony aunt we all need. Mrs. Ritu Gupta.
With an education spanning psychology, child development, mental retardation, counselling, and family therapy from Lady Irwin College and IGNOU, Ritu Gupta is a front-runner in the fields of counselling and learning disabilities in India. A mental health advocate, she taught at Delhi University before spending a decade with Special School Sankalp, a unit of one of the largest NGOs in India, Naval, or Naval Wives Welfare Association, as a special educator, counsellor, and vocational educator. She continued to explore the field of counselling at the Naval School and dealt with specific behavioural problems such as dyslexia and hyperactivity, as well as adolescent issues. For the past 8 years, she has been a counsellor for young children and their parents at DPS International School. In her time to spare, she sings, holds the home front for the Indian Navy, and counsels academics, especially biologists, who need guidance and someone to listen to their concerns. A very warm welcome to you, Ritu.
Thank you so much.
So Ritu, this is a very serious topic, mental health, especially among the scientists. And it was an alien term if we look at a few years ago. What is a healthy mind for you?
See, as far as I believe, it was not an alien term. Actually, we were all aware of it, but it was not getting registered in our minds. Not only scientists, but everybody else. Mental health has been a topic of concern, but people have not been very aware of it. So they have not addressed the issue in the manner it should have been. But today, there is a lot more awareness, and people are, getting closer to the topic maybe, and they're ready to discuss, they're ready to take help, and that is a good sign.
So why do you think there has been a shift in people's mindsets, and how has this shift in paradigm come about?
I think there is a lot more awareness from the people who are in this field, who are the ones who are going to help. Like earlier, like I'll talk about India, there was a stigma attached to it that if you have a mental health problem, or if the smallest problem, maybe, because mental health does not mean only the problems which you can diagnose. Mental health problems are day-to-day issues. Okay. Like if I'm stressed out, even for a moment, my mental health suffers. So it is something which comes and goes, ups and downs are there every day, day to day, every moment in life. Though those are the very small issues which don't get addressed, I mean, the way they should also be, but the major issues are getting addressed because people are becoming more aware. Earlier, we had centers for mental health, different places or different hospitals which will cater to the needs of these people. But today we have a psychiatric department in all the hospitals. So their availability of these of the psychologists and the psychiatrists is more. So even when the patients are visiting the hospitals, they know that, nobody knows what they have come for. So if they go to a gynec department, or they go to a medical specialist, or they go to a psychiatrist, is just the same. Okay, so they are more open to it. As they don't have to hide it from anyone now. And because everybody now acknowledges, they know that these are the things which happen. The way education obviously makes a difference when people discuss with each other. They know that, oh, you've been suffering from this, or you've encountered this problem. Oh, similarly me. So, okay, I have visited this place, so you can also seek help.
So going back to your point where you said that in a lot of places, in hospitals especially, the psychology department is getting integrated into other disciplines. So do you think people are just getting counseled without knowing that they're getting counseled? Is that why they're accepting this a little bit more?
I would say that even when they are visiting a different department, maybe for some other ailment or anything, and the doctor feels that they have an issue with their mental health, they can be referred. So it would be easier for them to go, and without anybody knowing as such, because still, some bit of stigma is still attached to it, where people don't want to, publicize, or they don't want to tell others that, like if you have a broken bone, people will tell their relatives, oh, I had a fracture and I went to the hospital and this happened. If you have a fever, everybody knows. But if you have a mental health issue, people would not like to tell. Okay.
Yeah, it's a different kind of weakness.
When they are visiting some other department in the hospital and they are referred, it is easier for them to access those facilities.
Ritu, do you think that there are some physical symptoms of mental health issues?
Of course, because it can show in your behavior, and that is the first sign we also like to grab. Why a person, or some changes in the behavior, because earlier the person was behaving in some other way and now it is different. Their eating habits, their sleeping patterns, there are not many more things, which can affect your physical this thing. Because see, health is something where physical and mental, they go hand in hand. Earlier, also people had a notion that, physical health, if I don't have a fever, I am healthy. But that is not the case. So you have to have mental health in place as well as your physical health in place. And they both are interdependent. We always say healthy body has a healthy mind. And similarly, healthy mind has a healthy body.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's also something that, we want to touch on a little bit later. I did want to remind our audience that primarily at the moment, you're a counselor for young children.
Yes.
Right. These children are impressionable. They're just learning from adults. So do you end up counseling their guardians or their parents more than the actual children?
Of course. See, I'm working in a school premises, and there we get very young children. And if we see any behavior patterns which are not age appropriate, or maybe they're, very much different, or the child is not adjusting in the classroom, or depicting any very violent or any kind of behavior which is very I would say very strong behaviors. So then those are the people we would like to counsel. And of course, it is difficult to counsel the child alone. The guardians and the parents are always roped in. But the way the child is handled and the way the parents are counseled is different. There are basically, for behavior problems, basic reasons of originating those behavior problems is the parenting, because nowadays both the parents are working. They don't have that much time to spend with their children, and due to this corona and all, everybody is at home. So parents are working, both the parents are working, the child is attending classes online, and grandparents are, as it is, very bogged down with all the things which are happening, because there is limited space, but we need different rooms for everybody. So 2 children sitting in different rooms and 2 parents sitting in different rooms, and the grandparents are, blocked in one room maybe, and keep baat mat karo, don't talk, and don't disturb, don't make noise. So all these things are, creating more problems now.
Quite disruptive in the COVID pandemic.
So the child also has a more disruptive behavior. So I've been getting, like, nowadays we are not going. So online counseling is happening where parents, they approach, and sometimes teachers refer. Children, of course, we can talk, but see, when the child is there physically present in front of us, then we can help the child better maybe, and we can guide his environment at that time. It is only the environment which has to be changed a little bit so that the child behaves in a particular manner, and the child is made aware of how he should be behaving and all. But at home, the parents only have to be guided. And the child also does not know sometimes the demarcation between a school and a home. It is very difficult for the children also, I would say.
Absolutely. And I think it's even more critical because, like you mentioned, that these problems are originating mostly in children with 2 working parents, and that is something that academicians are. We're always in the lab.
Yes.
As you said, that it's not just the child that you need to counsel, you also need to counsel the academician.
Because they all are also dealing with the sickness at home.
Like they're not
their
getting
family.
the environment of work, and they have to recreate that environment at their home.
Yes.
And I think that's a difficult task.
Yeah, I think this is something that our peers with children or planning children would definitely relate with.
But at the same time, I would say that people are becoming more aware of these situations also, and they are more, relaxed. Even if the parent is online working in a meeting, still, I mean, people will realize what is happening at home, and they are more relaxed and they are more lenient, I would say, in their approaches towards so the families and the work environment are actually getting closer,
together. Another thing that you do besides counseling young ones and their parents is talk to a lot of academicians. So I want to ask you, is there a behavioral difference between the children having problems and academicians asking you for help having problems? Is there some common issue that afflicts both of them, or do you counsel both of them in different ways?
Okay. See, the academicians, I would say that the ones I am getting in contact with are also discussing their problems dealing with those children. So they are not discussing their own problems. And even if they are discussing their own problems, their own family problems, maybe they are talking about their own children. So basically, I'm catering to the children's needs, their academic and the behavior problems. Now, behavior problems is something which can be, parenting techniques or the way you behave and then the reaction, because whatever we do or whatever happens in the environment, the child reacts according to that. I've been dealing with adolescents also, and I've been dealing with other people also, I mean, adults. So their family problems, if they have any issues, it would be better that 2 people or 3 people from the family, they come together and then they discuss their problems. And if they have any job problems and all, it is very individual. So the person who approaches has to be addressed according to what he feels, what he is going through. We cannot generalize. We cannot say that, this is the way we approach adults and this is the way we approach children. So it is very individual. The person who comes to seek help will be addressed according to their needs.
So, like when you are counseling the kids and the adults, who do you feel that are able to express themselves better, the children or the adults?
I think both. Because if they are adults, if they are ready to seek help, then they will tell you everything. And if they are not ready and they want to hide something, that they can do. But for the children, they cannot hide anything. They actually tell everything. I would rather need more sessions with adults than children. So because the children can be addressed faster than the adults, because adults can still hide certain issues which are going on with them. They, about their families, if they have to discuss. it is a little difficult for them.
So, like you have a lot of experience in family counseling and also a continuing education degree in it. About half of the PhD student population and almost all scientists are in a domestic partnership and perhaps have children, like marriage and everything. So, the stress of a scientific career puts a strain on the family life as well. So, it sometimes becomes very difficult to balance the work and the life, personal life. So, do you have any suggestions on handling that?
See, you have to be very clear with your priorities. First thing. Now, priorities do not mean long-term priorities. It could be daily things which you are supposed to do. Okay. Keeping your professional and personal life away from each other is also very important. All these things actually need some training, I think, because people should be aware of it and people should work on it. Addressing your problems, accepting your problems, because if there is an issue, first step to relieve it is to accept it. So first you accept it and then analyze it, whether you can solve it on your own, whether you can take help from the family, whether you can take help from your friends, and if not, if it is really an issue which is really bothering you, then seek professional help.
So, like talking about academicians, our schedule is very flexible and it's not very disciplined. So sometimes we work longer hours and sometimes we have deadlines of grants and everything, and it becomes really difficult to manage if you have a family or kids in that way. So I think, as you said, that making priorities and just working around it sometimes becomes difficult and it adds on the stress.
See, what I said in the beginning also, you have to decide on your priorities on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you have a commitment or a deadline to meet, so you already know it. So you plan your day or plan your proceedings or everything which has to be done in that certain way. And the other times, as you said, that your routine is flexible. So when you don't have those kind of things, then you can catch up on those things. And it can be done very well. I mean, it can be, categorized and done very meaningfully. Only thing is that we don't think about it in the beginning. We don't plan. And that is why everything comes onto us together, when each and every problem. So then what happens is that when you are working, your family problems or your house problems or, any other problems with your children, they are on your head and you're thinking about those at those times. And when you are with your family, you're thinking about your office problems. So if we keep them separate and if we are able to, channelize our energies properly into those and we work to our satisfaction, that would be something great. It is not difficult. Only thing is that you need some amount of planning, which you can do on your own, or you can take help from your family. And if not, seek professional help. That's what I said earlier also.
What you've given us is this lesson in organization and planning and prioritization. And it's applicable, I think, in almost every field. This idea of, yes, we have experiments and, that is organized, but the rest of the part, because our life is so here and there and, you're doing experiments in the middle of the night that you probably forget to organize the family aspect.
Maybe, what happens is that sometimes we give more importance to certain things more than other things in our life. What I feel is that we should be giving equal importance to everything. So if your professional life is important, your experiments are important, so is your family. Okay, so they should also get. It does not matter how much time you can give them. It depends on how much quality of time you can give them. The quality is always better than the quantity of time you can give them. Because when you are doing your experiments and something fails or something, you are very hurried, approaches. And when you come back home, you carry the same baggage and you let it out on the family because you think that, you yourself is in that state of mind and you start finding faults with everybody at home. you are not very conducive to their needs and their requirements at that time. They are also the ones who've been waiting for you. So once you are there, I think you should be there. It is just how you train your mind.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm going to switch gears really quickly here. It's going to get dark a little faster than I anticipated. It is a matter of seriousness, and scientists and their families have a very high statistic of being emotionally or physically abused. And this abuse comes from peers, bosses, families sometimes, and it often comes in relationships. If it's domestic abuse, it often comes in relationships where one partner is an academician, the other is not, or or if both are academicians, then one of them is probably gaining more in terms of papers or praise than the other one. And the children often suffer. We've already discussed that. There is a high amount of abuse that bosses throw. So, because there's no 9 to 5, there's no it's 5 o'clock, let's go home. You're there 24/7. How do we deal? And I'm not going to ask you about we're not going to discuss that people should not be abusive, because I think these are such personal and difficult stories. I would like to know is that if I know of someone who's being abused in academia, and I know that you've had experience with helping someone out who was abused by a boss, how did you help this person? And without reminding them again and again of their suffering, because that's not something that you want to talk about.
Once an abuse is there, for the peers, I would say ignore it. Okay? I know it is better said than done. It is easier said than done. Bosses, talk to them. That is what we can do. When you are working to your satisfaction and when you are working to your capabilities, then shouldn't be any other problem with the boss or or you. Yes, I agree that there are bosses who are very abusive. They can be abusive physically also. They can be abusive mentally also. Mental abuse is something which is very prominent sometimes. I would help the person who is undergoing such a condition by being with her, not discussing what she's going through and what she should do, because she already knows what she has to do. She already knows what she's going through. So I'm not going to dwell on that. Whenever she needs help or support, I should be there. She should be able to discuss her problems with me. I should be accessible to her at any point of time. She should be able to tell me what she's thinking, what she wants to do, and I have to agree with her. If I don't agree with her, means that I am not empathizing with her, means that I am not identifying with her feelings at that time. It is very important to identify with the feelings. For that matter, not only this person, but for everybody, anybody who we counsel, the first thing is to accept what they are going through. Okay, so if the child says, I don't like this teacher, okay, I don't want to be in her class. So that is a fact. The child is going through that. Professional is going through that she doesn't want to be with that boss. So that is a fact. So I have to identify their feelings. I cannot say, no, he's your boss. You cannot say that. In the beginning, maybe this is what parents would do. This is what others would do. Identifying with what the person is going through is very important. And when you identify means you agree with them. Okay. And when you agree with them, you have to take, information from them as and when and whatever they want to tell us and process that. Okay. And slowly, maybe we can counsel them. It is not only one counselor who can help. Sometimes she needs to refer the people to somebody else who are more professional, who are more experts in those fields, and take help from other people around. Yeah, it could be the person's friends, it could be some other counselors, it could be a psychiatrist, it could be anybody.
Like the kind of the researchers or the academicians go through, is, I think, quite different. And they sometimes are not like willing to open up to somebody or not able to acknowledge that they are going through some issues. So,
Yeah.
and because it's like putting yourself vulnerable in front of someone else, and you have your own fears that
Yes.
what they will think about me, or is this
Hmm.
right or not, will it affect my career or something like that.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
this makes things very tricky.
It-
So you
yeah.
have a lot of thought in your head that whether should I go ahead and do that or not. And if somebody
Hmm.
does like mentions one other person, the other person like reacts in a certain ways, and that also gives you like a step back that he
Hmm.
she is not empathizing with me, so I think
Uh,
I'm doing something wrong. So
yes.
how to like convince oneself that no, you should just go ahead and talk about it.
Yes. See, there is no one way of convincing yourself if you are in that situation. I would say that every person has somebody whom they are very close to, whom they will open up to, especially your parents
Mm-hmm.
or your friends. And then it is up to the parents and the friends to come forward and be with that person and then try to seek professional help. Now, if this person doesn't want to, open up in front of any counselor or go for a professional help, the friend or the parent can actually seek help, you know,
Right.
keeping them both separate also, because they can discuss with the counselor what problem they are going through, and the counselor would be able to advise how to convince this person, bring that person to her. And it is, I understand it is very tricky, but then you have to somehow be with your friend or be with your child in case of the parents,
Mm.
and help them out in some way, because it would be difficult for that person herself to convince herself that she should go for a professional help, because she has so many emotions and she has so many issues which are already there in her mind. It is difficult for her to think rationally at that time.
So the mind becomes like really confusing. Think clear and straight that what
Yes.
should I
So
do.
yeah, so the other people have to do for her.
Yeah. And what do you think that if you are going through such issues or conditions, so what do you think? How do we normalize taking mental health breaks? Because we take breaks, and also academicians don't get breaks quite often. Another issue. So, but when you're not feeling well, you're not healthy, you're sick, you're suffering from fever, as you said, then we go to doctor, we take a break, sick leave, you say, but mental health break is not very common. So how do we normalize it?
Okay. See, I would take it as a routine mental health break. Okay. So in a day, whether you are, full of activities for that day, deadlines, and, a lot of experiments and a lot of things to be done, or it's a relaxed day where you can, go at your pace. I think mental health breaks are required for both. I wouldn't say that you go for a mental health break only when you are suffering from stress, only when you are, confused, and only when you are, packed with so many activities on the same day. Going for mental health breaks regularly is something which I would advise, because
Yeah.
for everything we need practice. Now, why those things, whatever activities you do during your mental health break, why will they help you during the stress and during the time when you really need it, is when you have already practiced it. So it is very important to take it regularly, do it every day, even on a holiday. Okay. So when you get into that practice, then it comes faster to you, and you know how to relax. You will be able to relax faster and in a better manner, even when you are having a stress.
Yeah, I think a key takeaway from what you just said in the questions that Pragya posed to you were one, empathy. which is a rare
Yes.
attribute. And second, being mentally unwell is the same as being sick. And in science, there are no breaks, whether you can have fever or you can have all of these things. But that's an ideology that we need to get out of. And for all of our audience, I do want to share my success story that I did write one time to my PhD boss, that I'm feeling stressed. I'm going to take a mental health vacation. And he was very supportive. And he even asked me in the next meeting if I was doing better, and that that I could go home early and take the whole weekend to relax, because it was more important that I was feeling good from within. I mean, I think for most of us, maybe our bosses aren't really bad. We just have to try it.
I agree, because see, you have to speak your mind. And when your boss knows that you are the one who is working, and you are the one who is going to give results, and you are the one who is conducting experiments, he will also realize. And sometimes when they don't realize, then you have to be more assertive. Then it becomes a really big issue where you need professional help.
I mean, well, now that we've already started talking about issues, there are a few issues that specifically afflict PhDs, researchers, master students doing their thesis for the first time. As a scientist, we're constantly looking for answers. That's why we are in this business. We're curious cats. Everything is new, and inadvertently, it makes us feel incomplete and lost. It feels like we don't have the answers, and we feel like imposters when people term us as experts in our field. So what is your advice to a person with imposter syndrome?
In fact, I'm very happy that you feel like that, because that is something which everybody should feel, because no one is an expert. Okay. Other people might feel you are an expert because they are not experts in your fields. They may be experts in some other fields themselves. Okay. So we may be experts in some fields, we may not, and we don't know about other fields. So it is very good to feel that I'm always a learner. I don't know everything. And that gives you an opportunity to keep learning and, treating other people with respect. Just because you are not a PhD doesn't mean that you don't know anything. Okay. Right. So it is important for all the PhDs to know that. And I'm very happy that you both feel like that. In the long run, what do we have to do? We have to respect humanity. We have to respect human beings. And as PhDs, whatever you are working on is also for the humanity, for the people. So you would be better able to address them when you have these kind of feelings. If you think too much of yourself, if you think, oh, I am an expert, nobody's better than me, where are you going to go? Where are you going to reach? Yes, that is not going to help the community.
So we have to look at the bigger picture, and it's okay to be an imposter, but it should not just overwhelm your capabilities.
Yes.
We should,
but at the same time, I would say that sometimes when you are in some meetings with, like-minded people, and when all the PhDs are there and discussing, and there, if you feel that I'm not an expert, sometimes that also happens. But when the other people are talking and you feel, oh, I know this, I already know it. So you get that confidence also. So that self-confidence is also important. And self-confidence does not come to you only when you feel that you're an expert. Yeah, you should be confident in your mind that I am ready to learn also. It is okay if I don't know something. It is okay.
So I actually came across a very good saying that if you feel you are the smartest in the room, then you are in the room.
Yeah, I think like it's we've always seen imposter syndrome as being underconfident, but I think it's one of the nicer things.
Yes.
And probably is attributed again to our curiosity that we're not experts because we don't know everything yet.
PhD is a deep dive, and we all often suffer from tunnel vision, where we are just so focused in finding the answers that we lose track of everything around us, including family, friends, and we lose hobbies. Loneliness seems to encompass us. So how do we battle this?
It has to be basic planning, keeping your professional life away from your family life. Focus is something which you have to be. that focus should be there, where you are able to achieve what you want to and what you are striving for. When you are focused, when you are doing your work, I don't think you are lonely. Why are you lonely? Why should your professional life or your experiments or your PhD make you lonely?
Like we are so much engrossed in our works that sometimes we need to talk about it, but we don't have time, or we think we don't have time to talk about it and discuss, because when you let your thoughts out that maybe some experiment is not working and you want to talk about it, but there is no one else apart from your lab members, like your family won't understand if they're not from that background, and your friends won't understand or just make fun of you or whatever. So these kind of thoughts cloud our mind sometimes.
Okay, so you mean to say that when you are working and you're not getting the desired results, maybe, and you are trying very hard and you're giving your time and your energies all into it, and still you're not getting the desired outcomes, and you want to discuss it with someone, because at that time you need empathy. If there is nobody, okay, then I would get a little spiritual. Okay, you can always talk to him, let out all your feelings. You don't even have to speak. You just have to feel, and he would be able to get it. So, and if you do it on a regular basis, like when I was saying that if you do some, there are some techniques which will relax you, okay, which you have to practice on the days where you are not very much, bogged down with your work. That includes maybe the deep breathing. Okay, so you take a 5-minute break, do deep breathing, but then you have to do it regularly. Then only you will know how to do it. And the first deep breath itself would relax you a bit.
It's good that, you've already given us these ideas of how to calm the mind. And I think like what I gathered from your previous answers also was, again, I think it comes down to priorities. And the reason that most of us feel lonely is because we haven't given enough importance to our personal life. We've only given importance to the fact that we have to go to lab and run that gel and get that result. And that has been our top priority. And it basically, it just is that you are lonely because you want to be lonely, because because loneliness was one of your priorities in a way.
And because you have not given equal importance to everything in your life. I would here like to tell you that my husband is a very busy man. He is in the armed forces of India. He has been in and out of stations a lot of times, and he has been in positions which are very taxing, because he has to take decisions, and he has to take actually quick decisions, and he has to be out on his missions for long times. During his day in office also, he is going through a lot of issues and things. But I have noticed, and actually I've learned it from him, that when he is back home, then he's only at home. Okay, so he doesn't discuss his problems. Okay, everybody, all of us in all our fields, we go through so many problems. Okay, so I don't know, it is an unwritten or unsaid rule in our family that we don't talk about it. So when he comes back from office, he doesn't talk office. When I come back from office, I don't talk office. And we are concentrating on the family. We are talking about the family issues. And earlier, it was never the issue with me also. But I have learned from him only that you have to keep your professional and personal lives separate. And that is the key to it.
So like as you said, we all have our own notion that we have to get out of it, that my work is very important. I have to meet the deadline, so everybody else should wait. We all think that we have faced the worst issues, and it becomes really important to realize that you're not the only one. So how do you decide that whose problem is the bigger one? Do you have a measuring scale for that?
I think everybody's problem is the biggest because they are individuals, and for each individual, because I cannot compare two individuals and I cannot compare their problems, because this person is having this problem and this person is having this problem. They're not having each other's problems. Okay. So this person who is having this particular problem is the biggest for him. And as a professional, if I have to help this person, I have to look at only his problem, which is biggest for him at that time.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we cannot say that any one problem is bigger than the other, or any problem is smaller than the other.
I mean, continuing on PhD and research issues, we have so many. We're really troubled people.
Yes.
Many of us continually think that we could have gone into the industry, or we could have got maybe done a different sort of teaching job, or gotten something that would pay us more than being a research student, a PhD candidate, or a postdoc. But the call of science is too hard to ignore. It's a siren call. It's too strong to resist. But the paycheck is, however, something that we can resist. And it's not something that we're happy with. How do we make peace with our decisions?
Happiness is something which is in your mind. Okay. Now, there are nothing which can make you happy. No material thing, I would say. I'm again, talking maybe from a spiritual lookout. But at the same time, don't you feel that whenever we want something and we get it, after a few days, we again want something else to be happy? Actually, if you're seeking for happiness, and it is never ending, you have to decide, is science making you happier? If doing that job satisfaction, and every day when you come back home, are you satisfied with yourself? And are you at peace at that time? Because pay is something which you look at maybe in the beginning of the month. I am very sure that for PhDs and all, the paycheck is not so less that you cannot make your ends meet. So then it is a problem.
Yeah.
For a person who cannot run the house, there is a problem getting, the basic needs together. So as far as they are met, it is all in the mind.
So I just really quickly wanted to mention here that, your point, because this is something that I think goes through a lot of our minds. Your answers and my question in particular were just about, it's maybe this is a disclaimer in a way, that I know that there are several PhDs who have children, and if you have children and you're supporting another family member, for example, the PhD pay is not enough, no matter which country you are in. But the way that my question was directed to you, and I appreciate that you're also answering it that way, because this is not a political debate, and this is not something which is going to lead to some sort of financial thing. This is something that we're just saying, we're just comparing that an industry probably pays you more for the same job that you're doing in a research lab. But it's the research lab that is your calling. And so we're just trying to, I'm just trying to make it clear that we're discussing happiness with our decision.
See, if you have taken a decision and you're happy about it, and you're living happily with that decision, then you've already made your decision. If you're happy in your research, and you will learn to adjust, and you will learn to, make your ends meet in that kind of paycheck. And if you're not happy, then obviously you'll go for the other one, which will maybe make you happier. And it is not that once you have made a decision, it is for life. You can always keep changing.
Choosing your own happiness is sometimes requires a lot of courage. And we know that you did a brave thing a few years ago. You decided to leave the baggage of a PhD in lieu of a better and healthier and happier life. So maybe know, why did you leave? Would you advise that to another person who is in a similar situation?
Now, advising another person in a similar situation, I wouldn't do. Because I am not the one to advise. I am there to help you make the decision. Okay? Because the decision has to be yours. You have to decide what you want at that time. Okay? I wouldn't be imposing my decision on somebody else. So advice is not something I'll do. As far as why I left was, again, my priorities at that time. Okay. So there were certain things which I gave more importance to at that time, and I was not able to maybe cope up with the kind of things I needed to do at that time. So it was a balance between those two things.
Yeah.
So that is why I took that decision. But one thing which is very important in this is that once you make a decision, don't feel guilty about it. Because that was the right thing for you to do at that time. And with all the situations and things in your mind at that time, with all the issues which you were facing, that was the correct decision. So if later on you feel guilty about it, it is because at that time those situations are not present in your life. That is why you're thinking that way. So don't feel guilty about your decisions. Okay. If you feel guilty about your decisions, then you cannot be happy with your decisions, and then you cannot move forward in life. So
Yeah.
once you have taken a decision, stick to it and be happy.
And also sometimes what happens that these big leaps or drastic decisions invites a lot of criticisms from friends and family as well. And that is the time and that is the point when you start doubting on your decision, whether you did it right or not.
This is where your upliftment comes in. How you've been brought up, what are your experiences in life, how much importance you give to your professional life, to your family life. Like I said, give equal importance to them, and start ignoring some things and have faith. So if you have faith in your decision, you don't have a doubt. And if others have a doubt, you don't have a control over them. So it is better to just ignore them. Or maybe, you don't have to satisfy everybody with an answer. So it's okay. If they have a doubt, let them remain with a doubt. But you should be at peace with whatever decision you have made.
And look where you are today. I mean, you left that PhD a few years ago, and right now you're one of the leading experts in the country responsible for so many people's mental health, and for helping them out. And I believe that some people would literally call you their lifeline, because you've contributed so much, and you've helped them so much. So I think it's okay to leave it, and like not everybody has to finish a goal that was set to them onto them by society. And like you said, you don't have to answer to everybody.
Thank you so much, because you have said such lovely words about me. And I'm at present going through that imposter syndrome where I feel that I'm not so good. Yeah, I'm not so good at the way you're talking about me. Yeah, thank you.
That's a good sign.
It's a good sign that you have the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to touch on something which is very close to my heart. And, you have worked with, and please correct me and educate me because I might have a biased terminology. So you have worked with mentally retarded and mentally sound people, and both are at extreme ends of a bell curve and have respective rigidness to their problems. Whose issues to you are easier to resolve?
I wouldn't call people mentally retarded and mentally sound. I will call them special people. Okay. And if I call them special people, which is actually the accepted terminology also, every individual is special. I wouldn't say that one person is more special than the other, and everybody has different issues. When you said mentally sound people, I wouldn't say that they are all mentally sound at all points of time. Yes, everybody goes through some or the other issues. Every moment will have an effect on your mental makeup, on your mental health at that particular time, and makes you mentally sound or unsound. Yes. So we all are special. We all are unique, and we have to address our issues in those separate manners. So I wouldn't say that it is easier for them or easier for that. Everybody's issue, as I said earlier also, is the biggest for them, and it has to be addressed.
Yeah, I mean, because the reason I said that, there's a different level of issues in particular is because for them, for special people or differently abled people, their issues are a medical terminology. It is something that is heavily studied and is known and is
Yes.
accepted.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
you maybe you
Yeah.
have like a way of sorting them out, as opposed to, as you
Yes.
said, we're all
Yeah.
special and unique.
There has been a huge amount of study on those people, and we have a plan chalked out for them, and we know how to go about it. So if it is a child or an adolescent or an adult, how do we deal with them is different, and we already have it chalked out, and that is how we deal with it. So it is probably easier, maybe we can say, but then those people, when we are dealing with them, we are dealing with their lives.
Yeah.
Okay, but at the same time, they can also have mental health issues. So mental health is something which is common to everybody. Those people in the condition they are, mentally or physically, over and above, they can also have mental health issues, because they are also living their lives, and they also have ups and downs in their lives every moment. And that time they can suffer with those. Of course, there can be other issues because of their condition also. They can have mental health issues.
This is something that we should remember, that our problem isn't really the worst. Because I mean, there are people who probably cannot even conceive that their problem is not their fault. It's genuinely not their fault. And so, do you think that working in a special school and has given you a different perspective as a counselor?
Of course, it has. It has been very rewarding for me to work in a special school, and it has given me an insight that we are all equal, and there are certain abilities which these special children and special people have, which I wouldn't have. Sometimes I feel that they are the gifted people, they are the blessed people. They are not aware of all the politics in the families or all the issues, and they are happy. I wouldn't say that they're not happy. Yes, of course, when they are suffering, maybe physically or anything, they become like that. But then it is for all the people at that time. But yes, you learn how to be happy when you are there. You learn how to be satisfied. You learn how to feel blessed at that time. So it has really helped me.
Yeah, I mean, I did visit special schools, and I have spent some time with these kids, and really, like, I often remembered their smiles, and when I was going through tough times in research, and then I would remember that there were just particular faces that get stuck in your mind, and then I would think that these kids are not even some of them are not able to walk properly, some of them can't talk properly, some of them are so misunderstood because they're not able to convey what they feel. But they're always laughing and always smiling, and no problem is too big.
Yeah, and that is what we have to remember. Actually, no problem is too big. Yes. So in this continuum of life, we have to take all the problems in their stride, and we know that every problem has a solution. So that is what we have to remember.
Yeah, that's true. And like lots of institutes and academic colleges are coming up with those solutions, and they're setting up a counseling unit, or they're thinking to start a counseling centers.
Yes.
So do you have any recommendations or suggestions for those colleges and institutes, that how should they begin, or how should they actually run the program?
See, I think employing a counselor itself is the solution to all the problems. But at the same time, they have to also see how big the institution is, and how many counselors would they need. One person cannot maybe cater to thousands of people. So they should be aware, how many people and how many counselors are there. And once a counselor is there, she will be able to decide what kind of place she wants, what kind of facilities she wants. The first step to employing a counselor or having a counseling unit in your institution is to know, you can start with one, but then you should be ready to have more.
Like I myself have taken counseling sessions when I was just out of the pandemic and had lots of doubts about my capabilities, and it really helped. They helped me
Yeah.
be in the present
Yes.
and not think like a lot about the future and be fearful that you will make
Yeah.
mistakes. And so it
Huh.
really helped. And I want
Yes.
to say that if you are dealing with some mental health and you need some help, like a third person perspective, you don't want to talk to your friends or family because you have some reservations,
Huh.
you can just
Yes.
go and talk to a third person.
Because they will keep it confidential.
Yeah.
There is nothing of yours which will go out, so it is only between you and her, and nobody else knows about it.
Yeah, and
So
there's no
it is,
fear of judgment as well. That third person,
yeah.
if he or
Yes.
she judges you, as
Third,
well, it doesn't matter.
and if the counselor is easily accessible to you because she is there right in your institution,
Yeah.
it is definitely going to help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Pragya, it's really nice of you that you're taking these counseling sessions. I think in the future you would like to also share your research struggles and your story at some point, and I think that would also help many researchers. Ritu, I have to ask you, and I know that you've talked about this before. So we know that all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, and I know that everybody says that and you've also said this, that there are physical symptoms that come out when you are mentally unwell, and so clearly, and there's no doubt about it, that exercise, good diet, and are key to a healthy mind. So how would you recommend that our audience keep up with all of these things in the strenuous environment of academia?
As I said earlier also, that we take time out for a regular practice of certain techniques which will help us to relax when we are really stressed out. One, I would begin with introspection. Introspection means analyzing yourself. So when you are at peace, then please revisit your feelings at some time when you were not feeling so well, and try to analyze the causes and your reactions at that time, why you reacted like that, and could there be some other reaction to it also. Okay, so analyzing yourself, and then maybe telling yourself that, okay, this is the way I reacted, but I could have reacted this way, and that this would have had maybe much better effect. So practice that. Okay.
Mhm.
Keep introspecting yourself on a daily basis. Second is deep breathing. Okay, deep breathing is very important. It relaxes your body and it relaxes your mind. In the whole day, whatever we are doing, we go through so many emotions, we go through so many experiences which causes so many things in our mind, that it is important to relax, and that makes our breathing somewhat not the way it should be. Okay. Even if you get up in the morning and you close one of your nostrils and see, okay, you would come to know that you are actually not breathing from one of the nostrils. You're actually breathing only from one.
Okay.
And this deep breathing will help you start breathing from both the sides. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And as you practice it more and more, your body will get accustomed to be breathing from both the sides. So you have to practice it. And once your breathing is proper, it makes you more comfortable. And once you are more comfortable, naturally your body and your mind relaxes. Third thing I would say is meditation. Meditation does not mean meditation. Some people say that you concentrate on your breathing. So you just pay attention to how you are exhaling and inhaling. Some people say that you think about and chant and remember your God. I would say that if it is all of this is difficult, then you can do visualizations. So whenever you're meditating, think of something which very nice has happened to you, maybe a holiday in a hill station or at a beach, or you can just imagine yourself anywhere. I mean, even if you've not been through there, and just go through the sequence. Okay, it will relax you. These are the things which you can do. I'm very sure that these are the things which will really relax you.
Yeah.
When you are visualizing, or maybe, after that, maybe you can also think of your problem. Once you start, when you start meditating, think of one of your problems which is actually bothering you. Because when there are so many problems, if they are bothering you, then also you have to decide the priority. You have to decide which is the biggest for me. So I have to think of this first, and the rest of them come later. So then you know that, okay, this is one problem which I'm thinking about. So, and when you are meditating, when you are visualizing, when you are deep breathing, when you are doing all these things, you will surely get an answer.
I believe you. And I think I'm going to start envisioning that nature paper right now.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ritu. This conversation has truly felt like a warm hug. And I feel like I'm empowered now to set my priorities, my boundaries, and without guilt, and to speak up.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Ritu. It was really insightful, and like what the mental health is, and how you should not be fearful of talking about it. Thank you for giving us the confidence that you need to prioritize your task and balance your work with your life. And it's never too late, and it's very easy to just open up to a third person, take professional help. And thank you for empowering the thought of mental health and spreading more awareness about it.
Thank you so much for such lovely words. And yeah, I'm really happy if I would be able to help someone. And if you have actually gained some insight about it, and it is very nice that you will be spreading it to others. I am there. So if anybody needs help, I'll always be ready.
Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to speak with you today, Ritu. Since this is a recorded event, I'm sure our listeners will have questions, and you have agreed to assist them as well. So may they contact you on your...
Yes, of course. They can always contact me on my email.
Thank you so very much. We'll have Ritu's email address linked with this podcast for all our listeners. Please do share your feedback with us on biopatrika.in@gmail.com as well. Now we take your leave and hope you will tune in again for our next interview soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.